students. Good morning, students. So today we are discussing about session number 21. So we are mainly focusing on hydroelectric power generation. In the previous session, we are discussing about what are the components of a hydroelectric power plant, what are the advantages and disadvantages, okay, and all. Now we would like to discuss about its types of spillways. So spillways plays a vital role in the hydroelectric power generation because the spillways are generally we are using for the purpose of without affecting the dam construction. Okay, so without spillways, the main functioning of a spillway is to remove the water, excess water from the reservoir. So other than that, it causes to the more damage to the dam construction. So that's why the spillways are used to discharging of water during the flooding periods. Okay, so when the flood are occurred, at that time we observed high amount of water in the reservoir. So that's the thing, we need to remove that water from the reservoir or dam point. So at that time we are using the spillways. So the spillways are generally different types of spillways are available. So they maintain the water level in the reservoir below the predetermined maximum value. So already while construction of a dam, so we are giving some value. So what is the maximum amount of water storage capacity? So after that capacity, it causes to the more pressure on the dam. Okay, so that's why we maintain some predetermined value. So the spillway is used to maintain a predetermined value, maximum level of a predetermined value. It acts like a safeguard and it increases the life of the dam. So these are the function of a spillway. So spillway is maintaining a maximum level of water, okay, or required level of a water in the reservoir. Okay, otherwise it causes to the dam construction and reduces the life of a dam. Okay, so what are the different types of spillways are available? So mainly we have 4 types of a spillways. So what are the 4 types of a spillways are available? So the first one is the overflow spillway. So here the concept is name indicates that overflow. So when the water is excess, so automatically that water is flows from above the dam point. So that is known as the overflow spillways. And next one is the chute spillways. So the chute spillways are having gained the gilly water spreaders. And next one is the shaft spillway. So we are using the shaft for removing the water. Okay, so vertical shaft generally they are using for removing the water. And fourth one is the siphon spillway. Okay, so totally 4 spillways are there. One is the over spillway, chute spillway, shaft spillway, and last one is the siphon spillway. Okay, so among that, maximum cases we are using the overflow spillways. So in this overflow spillway, okay, so the ideal overflow is known as Ogee spillway. So in this spillway seen in this image, so this is a dam construction of a height h. So when the water reaches to a height point h, okay, so then the excess water flows through like this. So this is the spillway. So we don't maintain the high amount of water. So automatically when the water reaches to a maximum point, from that above point we are creating one path. From that path the water is draining from the storage point. Okay, so this type of spillways are known as the overflow spillways. Okay, and next one is the chute spillways. So the chute spillways are also very useful to remove the. So this is the overflow. So in this image you can see the overflow. So this is the root point or maximum point. After the maximum point, what is happening here? So the water is drainage. Okay, so the water is drained after the full of a particular level. So we are fixing some level. After the level, so the water is overflowing to this. Okay, from this point we are arranging a pipeline and we are removing the water from the dam points. So this is the spillway, overflow spillway here. And the next concept is the chute spillway. So in this chute spillway refers an overflow spillway isolated from the dam. So this is isolated means it doesn't have a contact with the dam. Okay, so this is well adapted for generally earth or rock fill dams. So what is mean by chute fillway? So in this chute fillway, so the slant, this is the slant spillway or path. So this slant path is using to remove the water very smoothly when compared to the other. And here, so this is having a smooth curve. So this is the smooth curve arranged by a spillway point. Okay. So from the smooth curve, the water is flowing outside the reservoir point. Okay. And here the smooth curve is made with a concrete slab. Generally we are using a very thick concrete slab. We are using 30 to 40 centimeters of a thickness. So the smooth curve have its length of 30 to 40 centimeters smooth line or curve. So it is manufactured with a concrete material, and below that we can arrange a drain sets. So here draining the water. So the excess amount of water we can drain by using of a drain set. Okay. So these type of a chute spillways are mostly using for earth fill and the rock fillways. Okay. So this is about a chute spillway techniques. So the chute spillway also very useful here. And the next one is the shaft spillway. So in this shaft spillway, water is dropped through the vertical shaft. Okay. So in this diagram you can see the shaft. So this is a shaft spillway. So this is the vertical shaft here. So the water is removed by using of a shaft spillway, vertical shaft spillway, and it is connected to a horizontal spillway. Okay. So horizontal passage. So this is the horizontal conduit. So conduit is the means it's a way. So water is removed from the vertical spillway, vertical shaft, and later it passes through the horizontal conduit. Okay. So generally these type of conduits are using for a underground process. Okay. So this is very preferable for the earth and rock fills, because the earth and rock fill causes a more amount of erosion part. Overflow takes place a erosion of a entire material. So that's why we are using this concept for a underground techniques. Okay. So here the water to the downside of the dam. So see here. So the dam is the upper side and the conduit is arranged in a down of a dam. So it automatically reduces the erosion part. Otherwise it causes to the erosion of a dam, and it decreases the capacity of storage, capacity of a dam. Okay. So that's why most of the shaft spills we are using in a vertical shaft for removing the water and horizontal conduit for passage of a water. Okay. So this is about a shaft spillways. And the last one is siphon spillway. So most of the cases we are using a siphon spillway only. So siphon spillway gives a more accurate result when compared to the other, and it maintains automatically maintaining the water level within the reservoir. Okay. So what is mean by a siphon effect? So when it is very useful. So the water during the flood period is discharged by siphon action. So what is meant by siphon action? So if you see in the siphon action means, so the force is applied from the atmospheric pressure to raise the water. Okay. So the atmospheric pressure is using to raise the water level, and at the same time the earth gravity is consumes the water or drag the water downsides. Atmospheric pressure raises the water and the gravity is attract the water. So this phenomena is known as siphon action. So siphon spillway is better selection when the space is limited and discharge capacity is less. So generally we are preferring this type of siphon spillways when the space is very less. Congestive space is there. At that cases we are using the siphon spillway. So here see that if you want to increase, so this is the dam part and this is the air vent. Okay, removing the air or entering the air here, and this is a siphon. So that means that water is rising some height. So rising of a height means what it helps. So the pressure is helps to rise of a water. After that the water is falling down. So what it helps? So the gravity of a earth is helps to fall of a water from high level to the low level. So this type of effect is known as the siphon effect. So generally the siphon effect, if you want to increase the water level, so we are using the gates. So different types of gates are using for to increase the capacity. So different types of gates are available that gates are using for raise the capacity of a water storage. So what are the different types of gates are available? So generally we are using vertical gates. So we are moving the gate like this in a vertical position, up and down, okay, or rolling gates, a rolling gate. So the rolling gates are like this. So we have a rollers on that. So the gate is rolling on that. Okay. So that is known as the rolling gates. So these are the very interesting gates. Most of the cases we are using vertical gates and the rolling gates. Okay. So the siphon effect is explained by a small experiment in this. So what is that experiment here? A small experiment is seen here. So the water is placed in the high position and one glass is placed in the lower position. If you see that the water from a high position is consumed and the lower part is adding the water content. Okay. So what happened here? Initially the water is rises. So rising through the tube. So this is a one tube. So here the water is taken from the one glass, upper glass only. But the initial thing is due to the pressure of the atmospheric pressure, the water is rises. After what happened? Due to the gravity force of a earth, it delivers the water in a bottom part. So this is the schematic explanation of a siphon effect, siphon spillway. So overall we have a 4 spillways: overflow spillway, chute spillway, shaft spillway, and siphon spillway. Okay. So now I would like to summarize the unit 3. So especially in the unit 3 we have mainly concentrate on power production only. So all the units, most of the units clearly indicates that maximum amount of efficiency, we need to get a maximum amount of efficiency. So for that purpose we are seeing this unit 3. So unit 3 is mainly focusing on, so I would like to discuss about summary of the unit 3 here. So what is concepts of unit 3 mainly focusing here? So the unit 3 focusing on hydroelectric power generation. So in a hydroelectric power generation, the key role is placed by a water only. Hydroelectric power stations. So what are the major components of a hydroelectric power station? So the major components are, first thing is we need to construct a dam. Okay, so what is meant by dam? So dam is a massive construction constructed by a, it's a massive construction. So what the function of a dam? So that dam is using to change the direction of a water or store the water. So both the purpose we are using the dam. So generally what are the different types of a dams? Okay, so dams are generally classified on the various bases. Dams are classified on the basis of head of a dam. So generally head of a dam mainly 3 types: low head, medium head, and high head. So generally high head, low head is less than 30 meters height. So when the dam height is less than 30 meters, so that is known as the low head. And the dam height is in between 30 meters to 60 meters, so that is known as the medium head. When the dam, here 100, 30 to 100 meters. So above the 100 meters, the dam is known as high head. So based on the head, dam is divided into 3 parts. And also we can divide the dam on availability of water also. Okay, so availability of water. availability of water also we can divide the dam, classify the dam. So that is so the water is continuously available. So that type of is known as the runoff river with pondage, without pondage system. So here we don't without pondage system we can run the power plant. And second one is runoff water with a pondage system. With pondage technique also we can generate the electricity, and also hydroelectric power station, runoff water without pondage, with pondage, and pumped storage techniques. So these are the some techniques we are using for the pumped storage method. Also we can generate the electricity. Okay. So here, what is meant by a pumped storage technique? So in this pumped storage technique, why we are adapting the pumped storage technique? So the pumped storage technique generally we are adapting for obtaining the maximum efficiency. Generally we are establishing a steam power plants and the nuclear power plants with a high operating capacity or maximum load conditions. But some cases we need a lower peak demand. So lower peak demand means we need a less amount of power. But if you run a power plant with a low peak, so automatically the efficiency is reduced. So that's the reason we want to run always a steam power plant or nuclear power plant with a maximum load conditions. But at that case, we are using the combination of a steam power plant with a water power plants or hydro power plants. So how we can combine these two power plants, hydro power plants and the steam power plants? So yeah, the thing is we need to run the hydroelectric power plant. Sufficient space is available. So space is available, but we don't have a water facility. So at that time we don't have a sufficient water. So at that time what we can do? So we can do the pumped storage technique. In this pumped storage technique, we need to construct, we need to availability of two reservoirs. One is the upper reservoir, and second one is the lower reservoir. So what happens if the upper and lower reservoirs? So in these two cases, okay, so the upper reservoir uses to generate the electricity by using of a turbine or pumping house is available here. So here we are generating the mechanical energy, and from that it is connected to a alternator. So we are generating the electricity. In the normal case, if the water is available in the flow direction, we are generating the energy from the upper reservoir point. But we don't have a sufficient water flow. So what we can do, after receiving to the lower reservoir point, okay, so we need to pump back to this water. So this is the pump house. So this is the pump area. Here we need to utilize the pump, and by using that pump we can return back to the water. So once the power is generated, the water is stored in a lower reservoir. Okay. So here we need to pump back to the reservoir, upper reservoir. What happened? At that time we are losing about a electricity. So the electricity is generated by using of a upper reservoir. The same power is consumed for the pump back to the water to the upper reservoir. So what is the use? So there is a one advantage is there. What is that advantage is? So here in the daytime we have a large amount of electricity generated by a steam power plant, but load is very less required. So we don't require that much amount of power. So that means the steam power plant capacity is 10 megawatts, but we require only 5 megawatt in a daytime. So what about the remaining 5 megawatts? So the 5 megawatts of power generated by using of a steam power plant, we are using to pump this water. But we required 15 megawatts of power in the night time, but we have a capacity of 10 megawatts only from the hydro steam power plant. So that 5 megawatt of power is generated by using of a hydroelectric power plant in a night time. So this is balancing the cyclic power consumption. In a daytime we required only 5 megawatts of power. Okay, so that is produced by using of a steam power plant. The additional 5 megawatts of power we are consuming for running the pump back to the water. Okay, so the 10 megawatts is consumed completely. And night time we required the 15 megawatts, but the capacity of a steam power plant is 10 megawatts only. So that's why at a night time we can utilize both the steam power plant as well as hydroelectric power plant capacity of 5 megawatts. So it gives total 15 megawatts. But here for 5 megawatt of power generation we consumed 5 megawatts of power in a daytime. So that's why the night electricity cost is very high. Okay, because just we are adding the cost of a power injection, pumping power also. Okay, so this is a very important for a when we have a lack of water but we have sufficient place to generate the hydroelectric power generations. Okay, and also the further classified the hydroelectric power plants. The hydroelectric power plants are further classified on the basis of power generation. Okay, so the power generation is very less. So that type of hydroelectric power plants are known as the mini and micro hydro power plants. Mini and micro hydro power plants. So these two power plants are producing very low amount of power. So when the power is less than 5 megawatts of power capacity, so that type of power plants are known as the mini. When the power production is less than 1 megawatt, so that type of power plants are known as the micro hydro power plants. Generally, the mini and micro hydro power plants are very less in India because it causes a high amount of price when compared to the high power plants. Okay, so that's why most of the cases we doesn't use the mini and micro, but it is need to increase because the time production, the construction time is very less for a mini and micro power station developments. It is roughly 1 to 2 years only. Okay, but for a maximum high amount of power generation plants, it requires some decades, maybe 10 years or 20 years. So it's based on the decades of time. So already do you know that the Nagarjuna Sagar takes plus 12 years of time for construction of a Nagarjuna Sagar power plant. And the Srisailam power plant is constructed around 21 years. It is started at 1960 and ended at 1981. So this is started at 1955 and power is produced in the year of 1967. So it takes a very long time for the construction of a hydroelectric power plants, but in case of a mini and micro hydro power plants, we are taking a very less time, that is a 1 to 2 years. Okay, so that's why we need to focus on mini and micro hydro power plants, also very important for increasing the power production. And also the major advantage of a hydroelectric power generation is, so these are the renewable sources. So we are so these are the eco-friendly sources. So it doesn't create any emissions. It doesn't create any emission parts. Okay, so that's why it's a eco-friendly system, and the running cost is very low. So there is no cost of a fuel consumption. So that's why the running cost of a hydroelectric power plants are very less. So several advantages are there with a hydroelectric power plant. Several advantages. So what are the some advantages of a hydroelectric stations? Hydropower. So the first thing is it is a eco-friendly system. there is no combustion process takes place, so that's why there is no question of emissions. Okay, and the thing is the running cost is very less when compared to the other power stations, because there is no cost of a fuel, so there is no fuel processing, transportation, no transportation is required. So that's why it's a very effective way to generate the electrical power. And also the hydroelectric power plants are have some disadvantages also. So what are some disadvantages of a hydroelectric power plant? So the hydroelectric power plant construction time is very high. Construction time is very high, and the initial cost also very high. Initial cost of a power production is high when compared to the other power production technologies. Okay, very cost, and it requires more land also. It requires more land when compared to the other power stations. Okay, so these are some disadvantages of a hydroelectric power plant. And most disadvantage of hydroelectric power plant is there. So here the load center is very far away from the hydroelectric power stations, because we need a separate places, so that's why load center is far away. So due to the high far away load centers, the transmission losses are very high. The transmission losses are very high in case of a hydroelectric power stations. Okay, so these are the some advantages and disadvantages of a hydroelectric power plants, and types of dams. Okay, so in this today's class we are discussing about classification of spillways and summary of a overall hydroelectric power stations. Okay, thank you.